After a tweet from Elmo, I'm very worried about America's mental health. Staff members of a UN agency are accused of aiding Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel, and how Taylor Swift is going to start World War III. And who knew that's what she meant when she says, "It's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me." That and more on this week's America Uncovered headlines. Welcome to America Uncovered, I'm Chris Chappell. Hey, how's everyone doing? Apparently not well, because this week Elmo, yes, the Sesame Street character, tweeted that. And it went mega viral with everyone trauma dumping on the post. Yeah, I've been on the internet for over a decade. I could have told you, Elmo, people aren't okay. It got so bad Sesame Street had to tweet out a resource for mental health, while Elmo went on the Today Show to talk about it, where he was attacked by Larry David. I'd play the Curb Your Enthusiasm music, but YouTube would give us a copyright strike. So that'll teach a Muppet to ask how everyone's doing. Mind your own damn business, oh God. A New York jury ordered Donald Trump to pay former advice columnist E. Jean Carroll $83 million as part of a defamation suit. Trump called Carroll a liar and a fraud for accusing him of sexually assaulting her. Trump is likely to appeal this decision. Carroll says he will use the money on something Donald Trump hates, specifically a fund for women who've allegedly been sexually assaulted by him. Now, I respect the pettiness. I also never let go of a grudge. Mark. But if Carroll really wants to do something that Donald Trump hates, the most painful thing she or anyone could do is never mention him again. Speaking of Donald Trump, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, who's in charge of the Georgia election case against Trump, has been accused of choosing Nathan Wade as lead prosecutor because she was having an affair with him. He has no prior experience with cases of this, shall we say, magnitude. Are we okay, Elmo? Wade's ex-wife claims he filed for divorce the day after he was hired, and she revealed credit card reports that show he booked flights for himself and Willis to San Francisco and Miami, which honestly makes me kind of doubt the affair allegations a bit. Because if I was going to take someone on a romantic getaway, the last place I'd go is San Francisco. Nothing says aphrodisiac like tiptoeing on the sidewalk around needles and human poop. In a court filing, one of Trump's co-defendants, Michael Roman, accused Willis of misusing taxpayer funds by overpaying Wade, who then used the money to purchase romantic getaways for the two of them. The GOP-controlled Georgia State Senate created a special committee to investigate DA Willis. Georgia Senator Greg Dolezal says, "This resolution is about an officer of the state of Georgia within a subdivision of the state of Georgia and how they are using state funds. This falls squarely within what we should be talking about and what we should be addressing." Willis, though, isn't recusing herself from the Trump case amid these allegations. But Georgia Representative Charlize Byrd is introducing a bill to impeach Willis. Of course, since it's Republicans investigating and impeaching Willis, many are questioning whether these charges against Willis are truly impeachment-worthy or if they're just targeting her because she's targeting the presumptive GOP presidential nominee. Is that just an act of pure pettiness? If it is, again, I respect that, since I also never let go of a grudge, Mark. And after the break, popular food brands use prison labor. Welcome back. A 2-year investigation by the Associated Press showed that prisoners in the U.S. are part of a hidden workforce linked to hundreds of popular food brands, including Walmart and McDonald's. McDonald's is benefiting from prison labor? Man, Mayor McCheeve gave a harsh sentence to the Hamburglar.
Everything from grains, meat, eggs, and milk had been grown, harvested, or produced by incarcerated people. And their labor finds its way into the supply chains of some of the most recognized brands and largest food companies in the world.
These prisoners receive little or sometimes no pay at all for their work and are threatened with longer sentences or solitary confinement if they don't comply. When hearing about this, several Walmart employees responded by saying, "Are they hiring? Because as atrocious and borderline unconstitutional as that is, it still sounds better than working for Walmart, especially on Black Fridays." Speaking of criminal employees, intelligence reports reviewed by the Wall Street Journal show that 10% of employees in the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, or UNRWA, located in Gaza, have ties to Islamist militant groups. and 12 of these employees were directly involved in Hamas's October 7th attack, which killed over 1,200 Israelis. A senior Israeli government official says UNRWA's problem is not just a few bad apples involved in the October 7th massacre. The institution as a whole is a haven for Hamas's radical ideology. What? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, this is the UN we're talking about here. They're excellent judges of character. It would never work with people who would be capable of committing atrocities. That's why China is on their Human Rights Council. It's not like China's human rights record is actively being scrutinized within the UN itself. That would just be zany. Zany! You hear me, Elmo? This report has led to several Western nations, including the US, suspending funding to UNRWA. Because the US will never fund terrorists. Except accidentally, of course. Whoopsie. A group of Jewish House Democrats are looking into alternatives to UNRWA for providing humanitarian aid to Gaza. The UN fired several UNRWA staff members and launched an investigation. Because the UN will never condone atrocities that cost them money. UNRWA was formed in 1949 to help Palestinian refugees after hundreds of thousands were displaced after the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Now Israel wants it dismantled. Should UNRWA be dismantled, it could be catastrophic for Palestinians, as the organization provided food, education, and healthcare to Gaza for decades, as well as weapons and moral support for a terrorist organization that kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and murdered hundreds in the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. And after the break, the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce psyop. Welcome back. It's been a tough week for President Biden, and not just because he ran out of women's hair-scented Glad plugins. House Republicans are considering voting to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas over the mess at the southern border. And 3 U.S. Army soldiers were killed and over 30 were injured in a drone attack on the Tower 22 U.S. outpost in Jordan near the Syria border. This is a tough situation for Biden. His response could not only lead to war with Iran, but also deepen the Israeli-Hamas war, a war that has ignited tensions not just in the Middle East, but in the U.S. Anti-Semitic incidents are on the rise, and because of that, several states are trying to define and codify into law what anti-Semitism is, especially in regards to criticisms of Israel. Meanwhile, anti-Muslim incidents are also on the rise since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. Because why blame the leaders carrying out these attacks when we can blame everyone remotely associated with them? Hating all Jews or Muslims over the Israel-Hamas war is like hating all white women over Taylor Swift. Just because you don't like her music doesn't mean you should take it out on every Amber and Becky in the world. That being said, there is one person responsible for everything wrong, not just in the present, but in the future, and that's Taylor Swift. At least that's what some political commentators and even former Republican presidential nominee Vivek Ramaswamy suggest, saying that the Taylor Swift-Travis Kelce romance is fake and actually a Democrat and/or CIA psychological operation, or PSYOP, intended to keep Joe Biden in office with an endorsement from the biggest pop star in the world and a potential upcoming, possibly rigged, Super Bowl winner. Since some think Biden in office could lead to World War III, this means Taylor Swift could cause World War III. Honestly, if it means we're all wiped out and I never have to learn anything about Tay-Tay from Swifties against my will ever again, I'm not opposed to it. There's a lot of theories out there on conservative social media, and many center around how in 2019, Taylor Swift called out George Soros and other private equity firms for helping record executive Scooter Braun purchase the master recordings of her first 6 albums. But then in 2020, Taylor Swift endorsed Joe Biden for president. Some think Soros, a billionaire that heavily donates to the Democratic Party and their causes, struck a deal with Swift to get her to endorse Biden for president. However, Swift actually supported Democrats in the 2018 midterms, the year before the dispute over her master recordings, citing concerns over LGBTQ and civil rights. Which, of course, shoots the whole theory in the foot, and leads to a new theory, that Soros used his time machine and got to Taylor in the past. It all adds up. So, is Taylor a puppet of the DNC? The evidence isn't really there for it. Specifically, the assumption that the Democratic Party is capable of actually coordinating and accomplishing anything successfully. If anything, it feels more like the DNC is a puppet of Taylor Swift, with Biden desperate to once again receive her endorsement. Because running on celebrity endorsements is kind of all Democrats have right now, since they definitely aren't impressing many folks with their record. Just keep gaslighting America about inflation, that'll make everyone trust you. As for the Kelsey-Swift romance being fake, come on. When has a celebrity romance ever been a publicity stunt? What's next? You're going to tell me that Michael Jackson and Lisa Marie Presley weren't madly in love? Don't put anything flammable near the screen, because the spark between them is gigantic. If Swift and Kelsey are in a PR relationship, it's likely more for the money, as her appearances at Kelsey's games have earned an estimated $331.5 million for the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL. So this feels more like an NFL psyop than a DNC one, is what I would be saying if I didn't see this Swift-Kelsey story being run side by side with news on President Biden. They almost fooled me. And wait, searches for Taylor Swift on X were paused amid the spread of AI-generated nude images of the pop star. Though I'm not sure if the first person to have Elon Musk's Neuralink implanted in their brain this week was able to still search for Taylor Swift. But what if the real reason these searches were paused wasn't because of the nude images? What if it was so the public couldn't catch wind of the psyop to influence young voters into voting for Biden, whose foreign policy would lead to World War III? It does all add up. Wait, am I starting to buy into this? Do I truly believe that Taylor Swift could ultimately lead to the final war to end all wars and the destruction of mankind? Is constantly covering all these horrible stories melting my brain and making me demented? I don't think we're doing okay, Elmo. And in my ongoing attempt to talk about all the things YouTube doesn't want me talking about by hiding it in gaming content, check out this video about Mass Effect, which is actually about what Karl Marx got wrong about religion. America Uncovered wouldn't exist without your support. Click that orange button to support us on Patreon. All it takes is $1 an episode, and you can set a monthly limit. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.